And we are recording. So
Cool.
I'm going to be around. I'm just going to mute myself
Yeah.
and let you get started. Okay, take it away, Erica.
Well, thank you guys for joining me. I mean, like honestly, all things considered, with the summertime, like this is a pretty decent turnout, I must say. But anyway, so today we're talking about open houses, and really, this is not going to take 2 hours because it's pretty straightforward, and Innocent knows my entire rundown, and Tamara does too. So like, you guys have a pretty good idea of what I do. But anyway, so yeah, like I always do these things, just cut in whenever you need to, because it's not going to be formal at all. So just, don't feel bad about interrupting me. So, okay. With open houses, a lot of people tend to think that you need to have a listing to do them, but honestly, that's not true at all. You can do any open house for any agent, really. You don't actually even have to be part of the same brokerage to do an open house for somebody. So, I know a lot of people think that you have to at least be in the same office, but you don't. So, even if you guys find an open house that you want to do that, is listed by an agent who is not with Keller Williams, you can actually still do that. So all you got to do is reach out to them. So the first thing I'm going to go through is just kind of how to get the open house, and my notes are over here, which is why I'm always staring. But anyway, so like I said, it's easy and straightforward when you have the listing, because you can schedule your open houses for when you please. But if you don't have any listings, which is the struggle for a lot of agents, aka like especially new ones, the easiest way is really reach out to agents that or agents in our office who have listings in an area or property type that you prefer. So let's say you guys are looking for a very specific type of property that you want to do. So again, if you guys ever did my my lead generation class, I make it a pretty clear point that you need to know what your demographic is. So it's important for you to know who works best with you. So, after you know who that demographic might be, you can work backwards and look at what they're looking for. So again, I'm going to give examples. If if one of your target demographics is like young families, for example, who are looking to, move into townhouses, for example, it'd be a pretty good idea for you to get into a townhouse and, do an open house for an agent who has a listing in that demographic. And that way you can meet the people that work best with you. And, it's a pretty easy passage to get in front of them. So yeah, know your demographic and know what they're looking for. And then that way you can target your open houses to be the most effective as possible. So there's one. So once you find a property that you want to do an open house for or something like that, you can just reach out to the agent, and, it's easiest when they're from our office because, we're a pretty open office in terms of helping each other out, and that's kind of what we do. So the easiest thing is to just reach out to agents from our office who have listings, which you can find. They're all on MLS. So, you can just look and see if, I don't know, let's see Faye has a listing in Newmarket that you guys want to do. Just message Faye and be like, hey, I'm so-and-so, like I'm a new agent, I'm looking to gain some experience, and I'd love to help you with an open house. And the worst that they can say is no, and most of the time they're very friendly about it, so you certainly do not have to feel bad. So there's one. And then so generally, I don't like to reach out to a lot of teams because I find that, generally they want to keep things in-house. So one of their team members usually do the open house, but like sometimes they'll post out on our Facebook groups or anything like that they have an open house available, which that's free game. But yeah, so you want to also, when you're reaching out to these listing agents, you kind of want to put yourselves in their position again. Find out what they want. And what they want is that they want to feel confident that, you're going to do a good job because, you're representing them and their clients as well, and they want to know that you know your stuff and that you're going to show up on time and that, you're a trustworthy person because, before you have this relationship going on with a lot of listing agents, like they don't know who you are and they don't know you. So you kind of have to show them that, you're knowledgeable, you're on time, you're, going to do a good job. We're representing the client and the property and that kind of thing. So one thing that I did right in the beginning was that, I sent a message to the agents that I see have a lot of listings in the office. And, you know, I reach out via text or I call them or anything like that. And I'm like, hey, my name is Erica. I'm a brand new agent. And, you know, I see that you have a lot of listings and I'd love to be able to help you with an open house, if that's okay with you. And I just wanted to introduce myself so you can get to know me and how I work and that type of thing. And, you know, sometimes you can offer to buy them coffee, or you can visit them in their office if they have one, or you can just give them a call. And, you know, at the time that you guys are meeting together, you know, you can go over like what your game plan looks like to tackle this open house. And obviously that's something I'm going to go into a little bit more later on. But you know what, understand, like from their perspective, that at this point, until you introduce yourself, they don't know who you are. And, you know, they're not going to just reach out and be like, hey, Faye, here's an open house. Do you want it? If they don't know you. So, you know, it's important to familiarize yourself with these agents so that they can trust you and kind of know who you are. Okay. So aside from that, you know, aside from reaching out to the agents, and sometimes you can get open houses that they haven't posted about, you know, the easiest way is still to just go onto our Facebook group and like look for them. You know, during a normal market, it's pretty common for agents to post in our Facebook group that, you know, they have an open house available. Whoever wants to take it can, you know, can work that. And that obviously is the easiest way to do it. Remember, you have to be quick, you know, you have to respond quickly, because that's, you know, usually they'll go with the first person who reaches out, because again, these are all in-house agents. So they'll do that. But you know what, one thing to keep in mind for yourselves is that, you know that a lot of very seasoned agents don't really like doing open houses, or they don't do them anymore on their own, just because, you know, a lot of the times their business is referral based, and, you know, open houses are somewhat tedious in a way where, you know, it takes a lot of time, you have to prepare a lot, and, you know, it takes up the middle of your Saturday or Sunday. So, you know, a lot of the times they need their weekends for appointments and showings and even family time, right? So, you know, by doing the open house for them, it can be a win-win situation. So in every way, you know, you are doing them a favor at the same time. Because, you know, they're often able to now get the credit to their clients and be like, well, you know what, when you're with me, your home will be on the market for an open house at least however many times. And then that way, you know, they're able to offer that, but they don't have to do it themselves. So, you know, don't feel like, you know, they're doing you a favor by giving you an open house, because, you know, it's certainly a mutual relationship and you guys are both helping each other out. So you certainly do not have to feel shy about reaching out to agents about doing their open houses. So there, we tackled kind of how to get the open house. Granted, you have to have a little bit of a thick skin and, you know, be able to reach out and, you know, familiarize yourselves with people that you don't already know. But you guys are all agents, so you have to be good at that anyways. So I see, again, Daniela is on the call. Are you able to turn on your camera? Just because I like to see everybody.
No, you wouldn't want to see me today. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No worries, that's fine. Okay, let's keep.
I'm sorry, I can edit my video as well because I'm not at home and I'm going outside, so
Okay.
my Wi-Fi is not fine. So if I turn the video on, it will not work. Sorry.
Okay. It's okay. You know, I just asked to do it if you know you're at home, you're in a quiet space, but otherwise that's totally okay. All right. So
are
now,
open houses allowed to be done now, or are they still?
Not just yet.
Not yet.
If you guys got an email from Trev yesterday or the day before that, I think they had sent out a consultation email with a survey, and it's good to fill that in because, you know, a lot of things are opening up again. Sorry, I just got a text. Everything's opening up again. It's good if we're able to kind of vote to get open houses back as well, because, you know, again, excellent tool for agents and for people like us. So, you know, the sooner we can do them, the better. Okay. So, do you guys have all your signs made? No? What's the general consensus? Yes, no, yes, no.
No.
No? Okay. Well, if I had to invest any money at all in my business in the very beginning, I would have to say it's open house signs. Because, you know, again, I don't even know if I have to go into why open houses are great, but really they are your most effective, most affordable, you know, method of lead gen for warm leads that are ready to go. within the next 3 to 6 months. You know, really as a new agent, there is no better place to find leads than at open houses because they don't cost you any money. They only take a little bit of time. You can promote the hell out of them and, you know, really free. It doesn't get any better than that. And your open houses signs are reusable for as long as, you know, you want to keep the marketing or anything like that. Even then you can get them refaced. So honest to God, like if you guys have to spend any money at all, I would say get your open house signs made. And, you know, right now, because if you don't have them, you can't take an open house really at all. And if you take them, you're going to have to use the marketing of the listing agent. And that doesn't market you, which is kind of the important part of why you're even doing this, because it can help you build credibility, which I'm going to go into again a little bit more later.
So you would put your open house sign for somebody else's listing?
Absolutely, because they're all directional. So you just—
How many signs do we need for one open house?
So generally, I recommend 3 absolute minimum, because it's going to be very hard for you to point people in a direction if you have less than 3 signs. But, you know, I say 3 minimum for now, but really you should, you know, they're $50 a piece-ish. I use Agent Print in Richmond Hill. But, you know, honestly, 3 is absolutely the bare minimum that you need. What, you know, when you guys are able to kind of afford it and put a little bit more money into it, I would probably get to at least 5, because again, this is all like reusable marketing pieces for you, and they just promote you and your information. And, you know, really with real estate is that the more you can get yourselves in front of people, the more they remember you. So that's why I think open house signs are very important, because, you know, let's say you guys are trying to build a farm of some kind. That will be like, that's a lot of value, and just having your face out there, you know, for a couple of hours every weekend. If you know, if you want to keep doing the same neighborhood, of course, it's definitely worth it. And I'm not somebody who spends a lot of marketing dollars at all, but that's not somewhere I would skip out. So, you know, if you have all your signs made, get your open house signs made now. Like, get them before, you know, open houses ramp up again, because then, you know, you're missing out on golden opportunities to take open houses or promote yourself when you're doing these open houses. So you need to—
Are you putting the house address on your open house sign?
So what I do is I have a little section on my open house signs that's blank. So what I would do in that case is during that each open house, I would tape a clear, one of those clear sleeves, and then put a sheet with the address of the home inside the sleeve and tape it on my sign. So that way, every time your address is on it, and it's reusable. So I wouldn't put, like, you know, I wouldn't have like a little drawable area, because that gets really disgusting. And also doesn't weather, like, you know, rain or snow or anything like that very well. So I find that the clear sleeve is the best way to go. But yeah, which also means that you should probably get a bigger sign. Like, mine aren't huge, like mine are 18 by 24s. And I mean, truly, I wish they were a little bit bigger. So, you know, it's probably best if you guys get the size just above that. Any questions so far? Yeah.
If you're using your signs for other people's listings, well, let's say we're with Keller Williams and another person is with, let's say, Remax. Are they gonna like say anything about that, or?
No, because these are just directional signs.
So if Erica is the listing agent and I'm doing open house for house, you have listing, I just put my sign on the property.
Put your sign outside the house.
Every direction that leads to the property, right?
Yep, and then you just leave your sign outside the house.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So
those are signs
outside your house, outside the house.
One in the property where the open is taking place, and then 2 other ones that can lead people to the place, right?
That's right. That's right.
So is our sign still allowed to say Keller Williams on it?
Yeah, your signs have to say, you know, the same things as everyone else's. So I believe it's phone number, brokerage, name, and title. So, you know, I presume most of you guys are sales representatives.
I made my signs with sign in the making in Aurora. So if you go to signs in the making in Aurora and tell them, they will ask for your brokerage, they already have a template for Keller Williams.
Yep, they do. They do. So, I mean, when it gets to graphics, I've always created my own graphics for everything I do when it comes to signs, business cards, feature sheets, everything. Like, I've always designed my own, just because I like how it's flexible, because I like to change things a lot, and like I can, you know, modify things as I choose, and also it saves you know, I can put my own branding on it the way that I like it. So I've always created my signs on Canva. I use Canva for everything, and it's free, which is the best part. But yeah, so, you know, you can honestly, like in terms of graphics, I always recommend put your own graphics on it, because you're, at the end of the day, you know, as much as like, you know, you have a template, it makes it easy. You want to promote your own branding more than anything. You know, you don't want your sign to look like somebody else's, because then you're probably just going to end up promoting somebody else. Okay. So yeah, when it comes to the design, like I design my own, but you can either hire a designer on Fiverr or any of the other websites, or you can hire Mary downstairs to do it. But it's best if you have your open house signs, if you have your for sale signs made, make sure your open house signs match that, because it'll be a lot easier when you have your own listing to do an open house. All of your marketing is going to match already. So it's going to be easy for people to find the property that you're at, because they recognize your branding. So like, you know, at least make them the same colors, right? Let's say your colors are like red and black, for example, which is Keller Williams, but use matching marketing, because it'll just make it a lot cleaner and easier to recognize.
That's why I was asking, like when it comes to like other brokerages, like let's say you're doing an open house for somebody who's with another brokerage, and it's like different colors, the whole sign looks different. What would you do there? Like, does this?
Same thing. I would just put one of my open house signs outside the house.
Okay.
It doesn't matter too much, because like, you know, when you're doing, sorry, yes, it isn't?
No, I think it doesn't matter if I have a friend who is in Remax and he already has his sign there and wants me to do open house for him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the listing agent. I just place my sign there to say I'm the one doing the open house.
Exactly.
That day and that time.
Exactly.
So
you would put a sign that says open house, not for sale.
No,
That's right.
he has a sign open house. My sign.
Pull up a photo of my open house sign and see if it'll be helpful for you guys. Okay. 1 second. Okay, so this is a copy of my open house sign. It's not perfect. It doesn't match my existing marketing, because I'm getting mine redone soon, because I'm changing my designation. But you see how there's open house, and then there's an arrow. The arrow is very important because you use these guys as your directionals. And then, so obviously I have my name, my phone number, my title, my email address. You know, I have the realtor and MLS logo. I have Keller Williams Realty Centers, and then I have my own logo on there and a picture of my face. I mean, face on it, it's not a big deal. I mean, some agents don't really like their face on it. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep my face on mine. I haven't decided yet. But just make sure you hit a few of those things, and make sure it says open house like loud and clear with an arrow sign, and you're pretty much good to go.
You have a sign with sleeve to show us?
I don't have a sign with a sleeve at the moment. But where I would put it normally, I would probably stick it just right under, like down here. You know what I mean? Like, that's why I'm redoing these, because I don't actually love how they look. But the nice thing is a lot of these sandwich boards can be refaced at Signs in the Making, and they'll do it, I think, for like $35 or $40. Like when you have an existing one and you want to get it redone, that's what they'll charge you to reface them. So it's not too bad at all. Like, you know, even when you want to change your marketing, like you can do that pretty easily. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the sign. Another thing that you need to have created before you take any open houses is make a pretty customized open house sheet. So you want to create a sign-in sheet for people that they're going to fill in with all the information that you want from them. Let me see if I can show you guys a copy of mine. Okay, it's going to be really like, this is going to be a really bad way to show it, but let me see if I can pull it up. Okay, where is it? Okay. Here.
We can also download, I think, on Oria. I think it's Form 810 or something like that.
You can, but also another thing is I just think it looks more professional when you yours branded.
Download it from the web form. It is Form 270.
Yeah, I've never used that one because I just don't like how it looks, but you know, I'm just gonna kind of show you guys. Oh, okay, that's a horrible way of seeing it. You see kind of how it looks? So there's my branding on top. It says open house registration, name, you know, things like that. Put a small disclaimer that says that, you know, obviously you're going to be collecting personal information, things like that. But, you know, it's a very pretty straightforward form that you can make on Canva or any other system that you want.
Erica, you think you can send us a copy of that in the group?
Yep,
Oh,
I
cool.
can do that. But yeah, that's the one I use. Just make one for yourself, or you can use the Treb one, doesn't really matter, but I just think it looks better when you have your own branding on everything. Just adds another layer of how it all looks and just makes it look more professional. Okay, now you have your open house. Let's say I usually look on Mondays, Tuesdays sometimes and get that scheduled in. It's a little bit challenging in a hot market sometimes because houses might sell before the weekend. But, you know, again, this is what you can do is what you can do. You know, you got to schedule it when it makes sense. So generally I tend to look on Monday or Tuesday of the week for one on the weekend. So yeah, now you have your open house schedule. It's time to.
Sorry, you can't leave the open house signs overnight, right?
No, you can't do that. And make sure you double check the town rules for every town that you're doing the open house for. Richmond Hill is the worst when it comes to open house signs. Like even if you have them out too late past the time of the open house, like a lot of them will give you crap. I mean, Aurora is not the greatest either. I mean, I haven't had any problems in Newmarket or Georgina or Bradford or anything like that. But yeah, be careful where you do them because a lot of the times the town can be a real stick for open house signs, and sometimes they'll just confiscate them, which is horrible and it costs you a lot of money. So make sure you don't put them too close to the curbs. You don't put them in the middle of the road. You know where do you call that bump, Faye? That middle part of the road?
The island?
Yes. The island in between. Like some agents will put their signs there because it gets a lot of visibility, but do not do that. It will probably get confiscated, especially if you're in Aurora or south of that. And you don't want that. Obviously, these things are expensive and it costs money. So it's like, it makes no sense. The town will take your open house signs and then you have to pay to get them back.
So you can keep those signs only for the hours when
You have
open
to pick them up
houses?
after your open house and within a reasonable time. Again, every town is different. Generally, you won't get in a lot of trouble if you just pick them up right after your open house. Like, I don't think anyone's going to give you
What
shit.
about before?
You're not going to get in trouble before if it's the day of.
Okay.
Right? That's why you need to have the time of your open house on the sign. But yeah, if you honestly, as long as you pick it up like within an hour of the open house, like I don't think anyone's going to give you any trouble. And it's as long as it's not put in a spot that the town doesn't allow it. And like I said, make sure you read the bylaws of every town because you don't want to spend the money to get the open house sign and then have to go through the trouble of going and getting it back and then paying for that. Because that's just, you know, it's expensive and no one wants to do that. Okay. So when you're preparing for your open house, what I do, it's a series of things that I do throughout the week. So let's say it's like Tuesday and I have my open house scheduled for the weekend. So the first thing I do is I usually do a social media blast with the information of the open house on like the Thursday. So for that, I'll generally do like a Facebook and an Instagram story or a post if you want. I'm not a big post person, so I like to do the story. Like I said, on the Thursday. And then with those posts, I usually do like 3 or 4 photos of the property with a brief description. I'll include the address, the date, and the time very clearly. And, you know, if you want to get more eyes on it, like, you know, let's say if it's your own listing, you know, you can also boost the post for some more views, which can help you get some more visitors. I mean, I will do that sometimes if it's my own listing. But, you know, if it's just any other open house for any other agent, I usually won't do that. But yeah, so then the Thursday, so next step is like either the Thursday or the Friday before the weekend, you should do at least one of the 2 following things. So one, you know, cold call the area, you know, the neighborhood, including the street, and just say, you know, good morning, this is Erica Cho from Keller Williams. I'm just calling to invite you to my open house this weekend at 123 Leslie Street on Saturday from 2 to 4. The neighborhood is in very high demand right now and buyers are looking for inventory. So, you know, when you're doing these cold calls, it's just a very effective way to spend your time prospecting, because, you know, not only are you promoting your open house and, you know, potentially drawing in bigger crowds, you know, you're also getting your contacts in for the week. You know, these are all still people that you're talking to and you're asking them something regarding real estate. So that's a real estate conversation. So you can count all these people into your weekly contacts, which is a very good use of your time. And, you know, yeah. So, you know, when you're talking to these people, you know, try to talk to them like, you know, any other lead. But, you know, let's say like you're like, oh, you know, here's an invite to my open house on Saturday 2 to 4. And then they're like, oh, you know, we're kind of interested, but we can't really make it on the weekend. You know, don't hesitate to show them the house at another day or time and book a private showing for them if they're interested. Or, you know, if their son or their daughter or their relative or their great aunt or someone is interested in the house, you know, try to schedule them a time to see it with you. Like, you know, if it's not during the open house, because again, these are all leads for you. And then, yeah, the other thing you can do is door knock the area with a very small printout of a graphic that I usually create on Canva again. And usually on this little printout, I will add an exterior photo of the house, an address, the price, date, and time of the open house. And usually I will do a graphic that's half a page in size, like half of an 8.5 by 11. And then I will put those on, I will do 2 to a sheet, and I will print them out using the office printer, which you get 200 black and white printouts every month, so you might as well use them. And then you just cut them in half, and then I will usually staple a business card to that. Or you don't even have to do that. You know, if you put your info on the flyer, you can just give them, you know, the whole flyer, and there you go. Like, that's marketing material that doesn't cost you a penny to make. Okay.
You
so
just
yeah.
use regular paper, like you, or do you like do it thicker
Regular
paper?
paper. Regular paper. It doesn't always have to look good. Sometimes same thing. If it's my own listing, like I will probably do something a little nicer, as in print out, like, you know, on professional printing paper and get it done by the printer. But again, if it's somebody else's open house, you don't have to put in money into it. You know, you can always do things in a more basic way. And, you know, some people, truly, I don't think, you know, receiving an invite on paper versus on a card stock is going to stop someone from coming if they're going to come anyway. So it's just a way of spreading information. And, you know, again, as a new agent, it's very important that, you know, you manage your finances smart and carefully, because, you know, if you're making like, you know, expensive cardstock printouts for everything, you're going to be spending a lot of money very, very quickly. But yeah, that's what I do. And then, yeah, so when you do this, like when you call or door knock and then see them at the open house, that's 2 touches. And the more you can meet these people in person and get to know them, where they can talk to you, is the more likely they're going to remember you or choose to work with you if they actually have some kind of real estate need. Okay. So, I mean, why I like to do these 2 touches is just, you know, again, because, you know, doing the pre-prospecting is doing actually a lot of the work of the open house before the open house. You know, you're using something that gives you content and maximizing, you know, your return on that. So, you know, when you do these things, it builds rapport and it builds credibility for you in this neighborhood, because they see that, you know, you're active as an agent, you're doing open houses, so that normally it means to people that, you know the area and that you work here, and that, you know, clearly someone else trusts you enough to have a listing, which they usually think it's yours, even if it's not. But again, it's kind of about perception. You know, you want to look busy and you want to look credible for them, because they want an agent who knows the area, who knows the stats and everything else, so that they can trust you if they need, you know, help listing their home. So, you know, like I said, most people don't notice if it's your listing or not. So, you know, now if you're thinking about doing cold calling, you know, just normally, or if you did it the way that we're doing it now, you know, you've gone from cold calling somebody to basically warm calling somebody, which is much easier. You know, your results are much better because people are generally more responsive and, you know, receive better to warm calls than they do with cold calls, because it shows that you're not an air duct cleaner from God knows where. But anyway, so, you know, now you're providing something of value. You know, you're not just some Joe Schmo who's just trying to call for their business. most people are nosy neighbors anyway. And, you know, if they want to come see it, that's an opportunity for you to come meet the neighbors, which is always a good thing. I always encourage nosy neighbors from coming by. But yeah, like, you know, one thing that I also like to say when I'm door knocking neighborhoods to promote my open house is that, you know, I like to say this. I'm like, hey, you know, my name is Erica. I'm from Keller Williams, just inviting you to my open house at so-and-so street on Saturday from 2 to 4. You know, if you know anybody who wants to move to the neighborhood, you know, you guys already know and love it, and you guys would probably be the best cheerleaders for me. So yeah, definitely, if you have anyone you know who wants to move to the neighborhood, send it to them, let them know, you know, whatever you want to do. But, you know, if not, otherwise, I hope to see you at the open house. Okay. So yeah, another important thing is that during your cold calls or your door knocking, make sure you have a list of comparables with you that you can easily, you know, reach for and reference very quickly, because, like, you know, a lot of the times they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I noticed my neighbor over around the corner, like, what did he sell for again? You're going to need to have that on you. So, you know, generally I tend to find that the best stats to have on you is houses that sold for, well, in the last 3 to 6 months that are very similar to the type of house that you're knocking, or, you know, the neighborhood is like. So let's say you guys are door knocking in Aurora Heights, which is primarily like, you know, older bungalows. Make sure, like, and like, yeah, the subject property that you're doing the open house as is an older bungalow. Make sure you have a list of the last 3 to 6 months of whatever older bungalows have sold in like a walking distance to this house. And then that way you can reference it quickly, and you know, you won't get thrown off by any of their questions. Okay, and yeah, have the available ones as well, because they might be like, oh yeah, I noticed a sign on my neighbor around the corner. What's Rob selling for over there? And again, same thing, you can reference it very quickly, and you look like you know your stuff in the neighborhood. And yeah, you look like the expert. Okay, so last thing in terms of preparation. So the morning of the open house, I will do like a Facebook story or an Instagram story reminding everyone where I'll be for the day. You know, not everyone likes it because some people don't like people knowing where they are, which, you know, it doesn't really bother me. Like, I'll usually post that, but again, that's entirely up to you. If you feel safe doing it, then do so. But if you don't, you certainly don't have to either. Okay. So now we're at the day of the open house. So when you put out your open house signs, I generally put mine out at the very, very least 2 hours before the open house. Honestly, the longer the better, because, you know, the longer the sign's out, the more people drive by and see your face. And, you know, it's really just free marketing. Like I mentioned earlier, like, the more times you can get in front of somebody is the more likely they're going to remember you. So the more people that drive by, you know, the neighborhood and see your signs everywhere, they're going to be like, oh, like, Faye looks like she's super busy, you know, like, I wonder like what she's doing, or maybe I'll go see this, or, oh, it's that agent I saw 2 weekends ago. Oh, she's doing another open house there. Like, maybe I'll give her a call if I'm interested in moving or something like that, because clearly she has lots going on in this neighborhood and she knows how to sell here.
If your house is at 1 o'clock, what's the best time to put out a sign?
Generally, I put them out at like 8 in the morning. But like I said, minimum 2 hours. You know, it's not going to kill you if you wait until like just before the open house. Let's say you're like doing one that's super far away. Like, you don't have to kill yourself to drive, you know, there at 8 o'clock in the morning and then drive back. But, you know, if it's an open house that's local, that's within like a 15-minute drive, just go and put them out first thing in the morning. It's only going to benefit you. And again, you look busy, which means that you're going to have more business, or people are going to take you more seriously if they've seen your face around a couple of times. Okay. So open house time, you just never have to feel like is a waste of time, even if nobody comes. And here is why. So I usually show up to my open houses 15 to 30 minutes early. So usually the 2 p.m.s, I'll show up at like 1:30, latest 1:45, for a few reasons. You know, I like to meet the sellers, you know, when they're around, whether it's my clients or if it's somebody else's clients. You know, you want to present yourself well. You know, actually, I'm going to go into a little bit about what you should look like for open houses too. Know your neighborhood. You know, if it's an area that is super duper high end, let's say, you know, the house is like $1 million plus, 1.4 million or whatever, look presentable and look clean and professional. Wear your suit and tie. just look good. You know, don't ever show up to open houses in shorts, especially in the summer, unless it's like a very, very, even honestly, even like a very blue collar neighborhood. I say don't show up in shorts and don't show up in like yoga pants or anything like that, because that just looks so unprofessional. Just, again, my opinion here, but like honestly, if it was me, I would have a very hard time respecting an agent who showed up looking very casual to an open house, because again, you're representing the sellers and you're representing the listing agent and yourself, and you know, just there's no positive to looking unkept at an open house. There just isn't, you know. At the minimum, you know, if you're a guy, show up in a polo and like pants with a belt or something like that, minimum. And if you're a woman, you don't have to wear a dress, just wear a pair of clean slacks and like a button-up shirt or something like that. Just, you know, if it's easier, just have an outfit that you wear at every single open house, and then you're good to go. So you don't have to worry about what to wear and what to look like, because honestly, I know a lot of people struggle with what to look like during showings or how to present yourself and stuff. You know, we're not in a super like fancy industry, but again, you have to understand what house you're looking at and what the area is like. Because if I were looking at like a $2 million home in a very high-end neighborhood, and you know, the agent was there in shorts and a t-shirt, like I would not respect them very much. And then same thing, if the sellers, you know, if we're doing an open house that isn't our own listing, you know, you want to make sure you impress the sellers with how you look as well. You know, it's not again about like how pretty you are or anything like that, but it's all about looking professional and clean, and that's pretty much the point.
Are the sellers usually there for the open house?
Not all the time. I like to show up early, so often or not, I'll meet them. Like if I show up at 1:30, they'll probably be out there packing up, you know, heading out for the day. And I like to say hello. I'll introduce myself like, hi, my name is Erica. I work with Faye, you know, thank you for the opportunity for, you know, having me do your open house. And, you know, I'll usually, if I do see them, I'll bring up like, oh, is there anything that, you know, you would like me to note to any buyers that come by that, you know, you're very proud of? And, you know, it's their house. They're always going to have something that, you know, they're very proud of, and, you know, they'll tell you, and generally these are selling points that you can note. You know, anything that you don't already know and you learn from the seller is just going to be extra, you know, helps you sell this place to whoever buyer comes through. Okay. But yeah, no, just be friendly, don't be abrasive at all. Like, you know, just be nice and like thank them for the opportunity. Cause at the end of the day, like it is, because they're allowing you to do an open house at their home. Okay. So use this time that you showed up, let's say 15, 30 minutes early, get set up, you know, turn on all of the lights, open the blinds to everywhere, make sure the home looks its very best. You know, if you see any garbage laying around, get rid of it. If if the throw pillows are messed up, then straighten them out. Like just go through the home and turn everything on and make sure it looks beautiful. And that's all you can do really, make sure. Yeah, Faye would like to note that you should put your toilet seats down. And I agree.
One more thing, Erica.
Sorry?
So you can set up before night. Is that possible?
I wouldn't put my signs up before, because it's easy for the town to confiscate them. And I would do it in the morning, because if you do it at night, like the chances are pretty high that they'll just take your signs.
So you can't set up one night before?
No, I would not do that. I would do it in the morning.
You would not, or it's not legally?
They can take your signs depending on what town it is.
I'm talking about inside the house.
In terms of setup, what do you mean? Like,
I mean, you can see one night before everything is good and fine, and next day morning you can start it. It's much easier.
I mean, you know, if the house is owner occupied, then you can just have them, you know, turn everything on for you, like before you go in. But generally people don't leave their lights on, you know, for the most part.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Erica, what about like room scent? Like, do you bring fragrance scent or a candle, you know, just to change? Sometimes smell is a big thing, you know?
I used to. I mean, I still do keep something on me. Like I just carry, you know, like a perfume spray with me, like just because I spray my own perfume. But if you do notice like a very strong like dog smell or something like that, text the listing agent first, or if it's your listing, text the seller and be like, hey, would it be okay if I did that? You know, you would hate to like, you know, have the scent in somebody's home that they're allergic to or something like that. But, you know, I usually do keep something on me. I don't use it every time just because it doesn't always need it. And if it doesn't, then I don't. But if it does, then just clear it with the sellers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So that 15, 30 minutes, I generally use that time to record content for social media. So, you know, I just record it and I keep it on my phone. I don't post it yet. So that's the key. Don't post anything before your open house. I will take my phone and walk around the house, and I use the Instagram app, and I record my videos of like sweeping shots of the house that I'm doing an open house for. And I will just keep that recorded on my phone. And you can upload them later. So I always do this instead of like, you know, rushing to upload everything before the open house and that kind of stuff, because, you know, your stories aren't going to look good, or your posts aren't going to look good if you just record, if you just like, you know, do them up in 2 seconds. You know, just record the content, record every room or every nice feature of the house, keep that on your phone. And then I will usually upload them after the open house, you know, and I'll add a couple of comments, or I'll, you know, make it all look nice after the open house. But if the open house is dead, you could do it during the open house. But like I said, don't rush it. If you have time to do it during the open house, do it then, but I usually do it after. So, you know, the key is you just got to record it first, and then that way it's out of sight, out of mind. You can do this later on when you have time. So, you know, having stories of you doing an open house or touring a home is just really, really good for a couple of reasons, because you can capitalize on this time to nurture your center of influence. You know, people that follow you and know you, they'll see these stories and, you know, they'll just see that you're busy, and they're just going to assume that you're listing, that it's your listing, and that you have business going on, and, you know, that you are a credible realtor and that you do business, right? So again, it builds credibility, and it helps a lot when you're new. But like, it helps people begin to take you seriously as a realtor, and it just, you know, it looks good. There's no harm in posting any of these things. And, you know, especially if you're careful and you don't want people to know where you are, like, just do it after. Post it after the open house. Okay, now in terms of what you need to bring with you, print out again the comparable listings that have sold, and have them ready for you at the open house. So Daniela, you remember us going through this, remember? At, oh my God, at the one in Aurora Village. Oh my God, what was the address again? But anyway, so I have 2 sets of lists that I have. And
sorry, my mic was off. Yeah, where was it? On Gurnett Street, 100 Gurnett Street.
That's right. That's what we did on Gurnett, and I have found that to be one of the most helpful things I can do, is to have my stats there printed out, and I'll separate this into 2 piles. So number 1 is my sold comparables. So that I usually do the list version, where, you know, you'll see every line of every home that's sold. I narrow it down to the same kind of property in the same area within the last 3 months. And generally that will narrow it down to, I don't know, let's say 10 or 15 houses. And then there, I'll make a little note on that list sheet that says, here are all of the recent sold comparables since April the 8th, for example. And then I will, of that group of 15 properties, I will then choose the 3 that are the most similar to the one that we're at the open house for, and I will print out the full client copy of that. And then I will go back to the list and I will highlight the 3 that I printed out. And then I will go to the 3 client copies of the full listing, and I will highlight the price, highlight how long it was on the market for, and any other distinctive features about that home. And then underneath everything, I will make a couple of quick notes about how this property differs from the one that we're doing our open house for. Again, you're providing knowledge and, you know, statistics and things like that. You know, having those there for you will be so helpful. And then,
these you're giving out to people who come and visit?
I will get into that, but no, I do not. So I just do one copy. I have all those notes on there, and I do the same thing for the comparable listings that are available. Same thing, list copy. Most similar houses available on the market right now. That can be a little bit less area specific because, you know, sometimes there isn't an exact comp, and you can put one that, let's say, you know, my listing property is in Aurora Highlands, but there's one that's similar in Aurora Heights. I will include that in there, but in the notes of those 3 properties that I choose, and when I choose them, I don't choose the ones that are most similar. I choose the ones that I think are the best deal, or price the best, or the most attractive. I'll choose those 3 properties, make my notes, and what was I gonna say? Yeah, so I have those 3 properties in there. I don't give these out because I want them to sign in. And when they've signed in, I will make note. I was just like, oh, you know, that's really interesting. You're interested in this property. They'll be like, can I have a copy of that? I'll be like, oh, sorry, I only have one, but I'm more than happy to email you a copy of this listing. Use that to email them. That's another touch, you know. The more information you have from them, the better. Okay, so yes, she's supposed to be, yeah. So I usually have 2 physical signs that I bring with me to every open house. One that says available comparables, and one that says recently sold comparables. I have made these signs because generally people are blind. They just look at a bunch of paperwork and they're like, huh, what is all of this? And, you know, you just want to put yourselves in their shoes. Like, open houses can be intimidating. So if you have these signs already up there, they don't have to ask you, hey, what's this? They don't have to like be like, oh, what does this mean? Is this available? It already says right there that that property is sold. So, you know, for them, since these open houses can be a little bit intimidating, it's best if they don't have to ask you. They don't have to ask you these things, you know.
So you're making like a flyer that you give out?
A sign, yes. Like a little sign that I display above each pile that says these are available, these are sold. Because you know what, the key really is like, you know, generally the more comfortable they feel with you and with the situation, the more likely they are to remember you or to work with you. Okay. So, yeah, I have made brief notes on every one of these comps, you know, and these notes underneath every one of these comparables will serve 2 purposes. Well, one, it's, you know, for you to reference very quickly, because you're not going to remember every property off by heart. But, you know, if you have these notes on there, you know, you can quickly go like, oh, this is the one that has the finished basement that you wanted. And number 2, it shows that you've done your homework, because that's all you can do, right? You need to prove that.
When you say notes, you mean like handwritten notes on the
right.
paper that you print out? Okay.
Yep. I'll just write like, you know, a couple of things. So let's say like this comparable has a finished basement and I don't. I'll put a little plus sign that says plus finished basement. Or if I have a finished basement and they don't, I'll just be like minus no finished basement. But you got to make it kind of dummy proof for people, because they don't know what this whole spread of paperwork is. You know, if they don't know, a lot of the times they're not going to ask, because they don't want to have to like ask what something they might think is a stupid question or something like that. So make it easy for them is the key, right? However you can do it, just make it simple for them. Okay, so now we get to the point of what we're trying to do at these open houses. And obviously the point of these open houses is convert, convert, convert. And one way that I've found that's a very easy in on how to convert is like this. So they've walked around the house, I've said hello, they filled in the open house sheet. I will ask them, so what did you guys think of the home? And then, you know, there's, for them, like for buyers, when they're coming through open houses, there's always going to be something that they love, and there's something that they don't like at all. And usually they'll be like, oh, you know, like this house is fine, but I really wish it had a finished basement, because I have like, you know, 3 kids, and like they're always running over each other, and like I never have enough room for them all to like hang out with people. So they'll be like, oh yeah, I really wish this had a finished basement, so it probably won't work. That's your opportunity, because you use this chance to go in and tell them and be like, oh, you know what? That's completely understandable. I totally understand what that's like, you know, needing a finished basement. So you know what? This other one in the available comps list This one actually has a finished basement, and it's also got, you know, stainless steel appliances and yada, 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 and like this many good things about it. And you know what? I think it'd be a really good choice for you guys. So they'll usually be like, oh, that seems pretty cool. What's the address? Like, how much is that asking? Like, you know, what's a couple of things about that? And then you obviously need to know these comps. And then at the end of it, ask them, be like, well, you know what? Like, I think this one could work really well for you. Do you want to go see it sometime? Or, you know, it's still available. I don't think it's going to last very long, but you know, if you're available, I can show it to you tomorrow. You know what I mean? Use
Erica, how many people would you say, like on average, that come to open houses are represented by an agent already?
Probably about half. Depends on the season. Generally, the best time that I've found to do open houses is in January. Every single January since I've been licensed, and I've been licensed for 3 Januaries at this point, I have found a deal from an open house. Every single January, because that's the beginning of the season. People have just started looking. They haven't been to a whole lot of open houses just yet. And, you know, that's when agents pick up their business, is in January or in September or something like that.
But do you ask people who come in, like, do you ask them right away, are you represented by an agent? Do you have an agent?
So let's go through quickly what I do when they first come in. They walk in, take off their shoes, and be like, hi, my name is Erica. Whatchamacallit? Like, yeah, hi, my name is Erica. Thank you so much for coming. You know, definitely take your time, take a look at the home. Whenever you guys get to the kitchen, I'm just going to have you sign a quick sign-in sheet just so I have the information for my sellers. And 99% of people will not have a problem with signing a sign-in sheet. And on my sign-in sheet, I have a very clear box that says, are you working with a realtor? If so, please put their name so I can follow up with them directly. So that's basically the first thing I get them to do. And then after, you know, they do that, I let them walk around the house, see second floor, basement, everything like that. And then I'll talk to my friend.
For someone who is already has a realtor, what do you do with the person?
I just chat with them, but I don't really try to convert them.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're working with an agent already. They've made that very clear. And honestly, your time is better spent talking to another group who might be here that isn't represented. So yeah, I will usually take the time between after they fill out the open house sheet and when they're done looking at the house. That time I'll usually go through their open house sheet that they filled in. And let's say like Faye here is from Keswick. I'll be like, oh, you know, you guys are not too far from home. So how long have you been in the area for? Let's say my listing is in Keswick or something. Like, oh yeah, looks like you guys live in the area. How long have you been here for? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, it's been like 15 years. Like, wow, you guys have really seen Keswick change then. Oh my gosh, you guys must love it. You know, are you guys thinking of moving yourselves, or, you know, just shift the conversation around to provide value and try to understand what they're even seeing in this open house for. And some people will be very upfront and be like, oh yeah, we just like to see open houses, so we're not moving. You'll be like, okay, for sure, no problem. And I wouldn't push that beyond that, because you're going to follow up with them anyway. So there's that. And you know what, when it comes to open houses, it's my favorite method of lead generation, because it's very uncommon for you to get people who are really rude, because the power dynamic is different. You're not cold prospecting them. They're coming in to see the house that you're allowing them in. You know what I mean? So you don't owe them anything. They're coming into your space and they have to respect you. So there's that. But you know what? At the end of the day, if you feel unsafe, or you feel like somebody is rude or inconsiderate or like makes you uncomfortable, you have to tell them to leave. You know, your safety comes first, and you know, no listing agent can ever give you shit for telling somebody that they're not welcome if they make you feel unsafe. You know, that's not something you ever feel like you have to compromise, because, you know, if I had somebody do one of my open houses and they felt unsafe, I would put that agent first. And, you know, because these are just people from the street, you don't know who they are. So you have to protect yourselves. And for that reason, if somebody comes in and they're not willing to sign an open house sheet, I tell them, I'm sorry, thank you, but I'm not going to be able to let you through. To me, it's not negotiable. I will not let them through if they don't sign anything. I'll just be like, you know what, I'm sorry for that. But, you know, for security purposes, for me and my sellers, unfortunately, you will not be allowed to come through the home. And you're probably not going to miss anything about that, because if they're not willing to sign an open house sheet, they're probably not serious. And if they are, they're probably really difficult and not good people to work with anyway. So you don't have to feel bad for that. So that's why for me it's a non-negotiable.
But sometimes people don't feel comfortable to give it to you his own information.
Yes, that's okay. And the ones who are like, oh yeah, I don't really feel comfortable about that, I was like, oh, no problem. That's okay. So all I'm going to need from you is just your first name and a phone number. And you can click do not contact me after that. This is just for security purposes. I will not call you, but I do need a name for security purposes in case there's anything that happens at this open house, you know, whether it be anything going missing or anything like that. It's just so my sellers feel safe and comfortable.
Erica, when the time comes that we can do open houses, like for example, like, okay, that's for open houses, but when you do showings now, like, do you get any pushback from people that they don't want to wear a mask?
I haven't personally. I've done a bunch of showings recently and none of my clients have had any problem with it. And again, it depends on how you manage it too, right? Like, honestly, I can't say too much about that because I haven't come across any pushback in regards to mask wearing, because these are all my own clients, right? And I know they're serious or else we wouldn't be seeing places together. But when open houses are open again, I
think it's a bylaw now, right? Like they
Yes.
passed a law where they have to wear a mask.
At least in Toronto, and I think in Peel, but I'm not 100% sure about York Region just yet.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting you. On Thursday, their York Region is holding a vote. I'm sure it'll pass, but I don't know, because we're getting so much flack, you know, like you see these videos online that, you know, people in the supermarkets are refusing to wear it. You know, bylaw is a bylaw, and I don't know, I hope we get coaching around that, like what to do, because I don't want to let people in that don't have a mask.
I would certainly not. I think at this point now, we have to be a very careful industry because we are always under such like scrutiny about everything we do. I think at least until masks are not mandatory in York Region, I will require it no matter what, like non-negotiable, like it's not something we can do. If they're not willing to wear a mask, then I'm sorry, they're not serious enough to come in. Because if they are, they'll go get a mask.
Would you bring your own mask and just put it in the open house, like a box full of masks, and give it to them?
You can. I mean, I probably wouldn't. I mean, even at my listing recently during COVID, I just had hand sanitizer and gloves available for them to dispose of as soon as they leave. Oh, sorry. I saw Corey just posted, hi, Erica, do they have to give their full name and valid number or more because of COVID-19 in the event someone becomes ill? I'm not sure if it's a law, but I would need that either way. Full name and valid number at the very minimum.
Usually, before I take somebody for showing, I send an email to say he should provide his own mask and hand gloves after signing the COVID-19 form. And so there shouldn't be any problem with that.
I don't think there will be. And honestly, a mask is such a small thing. Like, I don't see any reasonable person having an issue with it. And honestly, it's like if they're gonna not see a house because they have to wear a mask, then I would just question really how much do you want to look? Like, how much do you care to come in and see it? Right? So especially, I don't think showings will have an issue with masks, but at open houses, I do anticipate are going to be a little strange for that. But, you know, now that we're like 4 months into COVID, I can't see why anyone wouldn't have a mask with them. Like for, you know, the whole, like anytime. Like I don't know about you guys, but I have a mask in my purse at all times, sometimes 2 of them, you know? So there's just no excuse. And then like when you're showing houses to clients, like, you know, in that case, sometimes like I have extra masks in my car in case, let's say they forgot or something like that, then, you know, I have one ready for them if they need it. But more often than not, like I haven't had any issues. They'll just bring their own. Okay. So back on track with the open houses. You know, like your job is really to talk to them, right? So let's say you guys are having a really good conversation with somebody, you know, whether they be a buyer or a seller. And, you know, the way I usually like to get there is I just keep asking them questions. I'm like, well, so, you know, where are you guys from? Like, how do you find yourselves in Newmarket? Like, you know, are you guys here just, you know, browsing, or are you looking for something in particular? And if it's somebody who's willing to talk to you, they'll talk to you. And, you know, whether it be a buyer or seller, like, you know, you don't have to be afraid to ask if they want help, right? Because, like, let's be honest, at the end of like the conversation, or if they've been talking to you for like 15, 20 minutes and they're engaging with you, there's a good chance that they'll probably say yes if you offer to help them. So yeah, there's the open house. So then after, you know, let's say the end of the 2 hours, I just, you know, I close up everything. I make sure that, I make sure all the lights are off, all the blinds are closed, everything like that. Oh, actually, one thing that I do have to know during the open house that I do every single time is I have music playing. Always. I have the same track or the same MP4 that I've been playing at my open house for like 2.5 years, because music, it helps people relax and it helps people feel more comfortable in a home, and it helps with perception. So same thing, Daniela was with me at Gurnett Street, like that one. I think music helped a lot, because, you know, oftentimes it can be awkward if you don't know them, and, like, you know, some people are introverted and they don't feel comfortable making conversation with strangers, or, you know, that kind of thing. But music can really cut that awkward silence and make them.
Do you have to get the listing agent's approval first for that, or would you just do it on your own? Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I don't feel like it's necessary for permission.
Okay.
It's usually just soft music. Like, I have like a very like soft instrumental track that I play on my computer as I do the open house, because it's music, you know, it's not like it's scent or it's anything that leaves a trace of any kind. Like, you know, unless the listing agent outwardly tells you like, hey, don't play any music because there's some reason to be sensitive about it, I really don't anticipate that being a problem. Okay. So yeah, when it's done, go pick up your signs and make sure you don't leave them overnight, even if you're doing like a back-to-back Saturday, Sunday, because again, you don't want to risk your signs getting picked up by the town, because it's very expensive to get them back out. And, you know, you could have just wasted like $50, $100 for absolutely no reason. Okay, so now after the open house, it gets to the follow-up part. So I follow up the day after, no matter what, next day. It's always the next day, even if it's a Sunday, or, you know, let's say I do a weekday open house, I will follow up the next day. I'll usually give them a call. If they don't answer, I leave a message. And if they don't message, if they don't answer, I also send them a text message that just says, okay, well, this is the script that I use when I'm calling them. Like, hi, Faye, this is Erica from Keller Williams. We met at my open house yesterday at 123 Leslie Street. You know, how are you doing? And then they'll usually just be like, oh, I'm fine. And I'll be like, oh, well, I just wanted to follow up with you for some feedback for my sellers regarding the house. And then they'll usually talk and stuff like that and be like, oh yeah, you know, I wish the stairs were nicer, or, you know, like we're just kind of looking casually or whatever. I'll usually try to engage them in some kind of conversation and get them to talk a bit more. You know, use the same conversion method that I told you about earlier, about converting them to other houses that are on the market that could work for them. But, you know, sometimes they're not looking to move. And then if they tell you so, I'll just say this. Well, you know, no worries, Faye. I completely understand. You know, I'm going to keep in touch with you via calls or emails from time to time. I promise I won't spam you. And, you know, whenever you're ready to move, hopefully I can be the person to help you. So at least that way, you know, you're preparing them for, you know, follow-ups from you, and that you're going to call them in 3 to 6 months or something like that, whatever their follow-up timeline looks like for you. And then, yeah, like sometimes I'll offer to put people on prospect searches on Stratus if they're like, oh yeah, no, I'm just kind of looking, I, you know, live around the corner, but I'm not moving anytime soon. I will offer to put them on a prospect search, because I'll say this, I'll be like, oh, well, no problem at all. Like, you know what? I really appreciate you joining me at the open house. I mean, if it's helpful to you, I'd like to add you to a neighborhood prospect search so that, you know, whenever a new one comes up on the market, all the photos, the price, the terms, and everything, they'll be emailed to you in real time. And then, you know, so that way, whenever you're ready to move, you'll be the most informed seller on the road. So that's one way to get them on a prospect search, and then that way they're seeing from you every couple of days or however often, you know, you send them a prospect email. But I tend to narrow it down pretty specifically. Let's say that it's a neighbor who's just curious and might think about selling in like a year or two. I'll add them on the prospect search for like the few streets around her home, because that's what's relevant to her. Okay. So this one's optional. I don't always do this. You know, you can post on social media as a follow-up and, you know, detail the results of your open house. So let's say, you know, I would put, if I were to do this, which I do sometimes, I'll be like, well, you know, I'll post a different photo of the home, let's say the kitchen. Whereas before, the first time when I posted about the open house, I posted an exterior photo. I'll post a picture of the kitchen now and write something like, oh, my open house yesterday at 123 Leslie Street was a success. And, you know, we had 6 groups through during the 2 hours and really good feedback despite, you know, the cold weather or, you know, the long weekend or something like that. And then, yeah, the very last thing you do at the end of the open house is you add everybody into your CRM or command or whatever it is you use, and you periodically follow up with them via a call. And yeah, you follow up with them like anybody else and just say, hey, my name is Erica from Keller Williams. You know, we met about 6 months ago at an open house in Newmarket. I just wanted to give you a call to see how you're doing and whether you have any real estate needs this year. And that's my open house routine.
Awesome.
Anyone have questions?
Does you, as a listing agent, or let's say you're doing it for another listing agent, do you send them like tips on how to get ready for the open house?
I don't usually. I mean, I think that most agents who have a lot of listings will prepare their clients, and I mean, most do. It's very uncommon that I'll have an open house where the sellers are totally unprepared. It just doesn't really happen because, I mean, for the most part, their house is on the market and they know that it needs to look good. And there's that. Oh, actually, one last thing that you do need to do is I always send a text message to the agent who is the listing agent of this property, and I'll be like, hey, Faye, you know, just wanted to update you on the results of our open house. We had 5 groups through the 2 hours, and generally the feedback was A, B, and C. I will word it pretty lightly just so it makes it easier for them to tell their clients. And I'll usually say it like this. Hey, Faye, you know, we just updating you on our open house at 123 Leslie. We had 5 groups through the last 2 hours, and generally the feedback was positive, although, you know, was positive regarding, you know, the layout. You know, people liked how the bedrooms were really big and that they liked the location being close to a school. However, some concerns might be that, you know, families thought that, you know, they needed a basement, a finished basement or something like that. Or, you know, some concerns were that, oh, but it also backs onto a train track and that doesn't work for some families and things like that. So it's just, you know, you want to give them an update probably as soon as you can, because their clients are probably, you know, bugging them for some feedback as well. And you want to make it as easy for them to get information from you as possible. That way, you know, they liked the experience, they thought you were helpful, and therefore they'll reach out to you and be like, hey, Faye, are you free to do an open house this Saturday? And that way you might get some opportunities that other agents might not. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you.
No questions? Sabrina, are you still there?
I am still here. Yes, that was great, Erica. Lots of great information.
Yeah, so that's just my open house routine. There's obviously a million different ways to do it, but like I've had pretty good like results from my open houses, and yeah, honestly, I think like 60% of my business in my first year was open houses.
I love open houses. That's how
Yeah,
I
you
got
do
my
a
business.
lot.
Yeah.
You do a lot. A lot of agents just sit there and that's it.
Yeah, no, I do a lot because honestly, if you don't do that, then you're basically just a door opener.
Absolutely. It's great information. Thank you.
You are being a Walmart greeter. No disrespect
Well,
to Walmart greeters, but you're basically doing the same job. And they're getting you're not.
You have to kind of take this like open house as if it's your own listing too, right? So
absolutely do. And the thing is that these are opportunities for you, right? Because you don't have your own listing yet, or if you know, even if you do, like, you know, and an open house is an opportunity, and it's free advertising that can generate very real results. And like out of most of the time, my business from open houses comes from finding buyers, but sometimes you'll get sellers as well. Like I've gotten 4 listings in the last 2.5 years from open house visitors. And only because they're like, oh yeah, you know, I'm just checking it out. We're kind of thinking of moving, but not sure yet. And then a lot of the times you keep in touch with them a couple of months, I'll be like, you know what, like I really, like I've heard feedback from people who are like, you know what, we've had a really good time, like, you know, speaking with you. We think you're really nice and easy to work with. So like, you know, they chose to list, and that's all you can do really. Just present yourself in the best light, and, you know, present yourself as a knowledgeable agent who's easy to work with, who's hands-on and knows the area, and you will get business from it, whether from buyers or sellers. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been harsh, but you know what? Like sometimes I think that if you don't do a lot of these things, then you might as well not waste your time on like a Sunday afternoon, because it's 2 precious hours with your family that you could be using. But if, you know, if you work open houses well, they are more than worth it.
Yeah.
Open house done right.
Mhm.
Hopefully I try. But yeah, no, that's what I do. And like for me, it's been very good. And a lot of older agents just don't do them anymore because they feel like they would rather, well, truly a lot of them, their time is better spent elsewhere because they don't have a lead gen objective. They're looking, you know, to work the leads that they already have, right? And a lot of them don't need to generate leads, but as newer agents, you are trying to build your CRM full of people, and you're
Yeah, and I just want to say you're a great person to shadow. I really enjoyed my time with you. Erica, shadowing you, I learned a lot.
Thank you. No, I enjoyed having a lot of you guys with me as well. And like, honestly, you know, as you guys kind of get more business, like don't be afraid of partnering with agents to do open houses. Sometimes you can just 50-50 the leads, because like, let's say if, actually, I do want to touch on this a little bit because I've done this with Sabrina and we've had some success with it. So I've had a listing a couple of months ago where it was an area that I knew was going to be in very high demand, just because you can see that it sells very quickly. And I knew that that house in particular was going to get a ton of traffic. And, you know, Sabrina, you know which one I'm talking about, it's Davidson.
Yeah.
And with that one, I was holding back offers for a week. And I did an open house both days, Saturday and Sunday. And both days we had at least, I think, what, Sabrina, we probably had like 15 groups of people.
Oh yeah, it was pretty busy.
Yeah. So as a listing agent, I don't really like to bring offers to my own listings when I'm in multiples, because, you know, I have a guide that I made for everybody, but, you know, it's working in multiples. But when you're the listing agent and you bring in your own offer, it's really easy for RICO complaints to happen, because a lot of agents feel as though, you know, things weren't disclosed clearly, or, you know, you guys didn't, or like, oh, you probably did something sketchy behind the scenes and that's why you got the, you know, you got the deal or something like that. I go to pretty big lengths to avoid doing that. Like I would rather refer it over to a colleague who I trust and who has an agreement with me to work with this buyer. And obviously, you know, like they give me a referral fee instead. That way they win, I win, no one has any conflicting, like, you know, loyalties to anybody, and, you know, you don't have to be afraid of any kind of RICO complaint happening.
Good idea.
Yeah, so back in February, I had one where I listed low and listed it for multiples, and that way Sabrina and I actually did the open house together because the traffic was so high. I find that any time that an open house has more than like 6, 7, 8 groups in the 2 hours, it's impossible for you guys to talk to everyone. And it's impossible for you to get to know each of them to the level that you needed to know them. So as a listing agent, Sabrina and I did the open house together, so that, you know, obviously about half of the group showed up with agents and the half of them didn't. And the half that didn't come with agents, you know, Sabrina would talk to them, and then she can go and convert these buyers, because these guys are buyers that are not represented. And then I can talk to the ones who are represented, because I am there to provide information as the listing agent. And then that way, you know, Sabrina can get the leads, and then I can also help her out with getting everybody informed and managing this open house in the best way possible. So I've done that in the past with Sabrina. I've done it with Jacqueline DeCiccio. Like, we've had a lot of success with these open houses, even though sometimes, obviously, not every open house is going to generate good results, because you have to do enough of them. Because open houses, like any other form of prospecting, is a numbers game. You know, the more you do, the better luck you'll have and the more you'll convert. But, you know, one case is when you do open houses with other agents that are, you know, are going to be very busy. Again, look at the price point, look at the area, partner up with another agent, and then you guys can divvy up the leads however works for you. Like, you know, you're not going to talk to everybody when you're there unless, you know, there's only like 3 or 4 groups. So if you divvy up the leads, you guys will each get, let's say like there's 10 visitors, you'll each get 5, and you'll each get the 5 that works best with you, because not every buyer that comes through the door is going to be a good fit for you as a realtor. So yeah, definitely don't hesitate to partner up with other agents.
Perfect.
Yep. Any other questions?
No, not now.
We're
It was
good?
nice to see everybody.
For sure. No, it's nice to see you too, Svetlana.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. So tomorrow we're doing working with sellers, whoever's interested. I know, Nijim, you've done it before with Jen.
Yeah.
That course. You can do it again, or you don't, if you don't want to, it's fine. But
I wish I could join. I just have work tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. So whoever wants to join me, I'll put it on WhatsApp in the morning just to have a quick reminder. And it's at 1 to, because I was supposed to do it last week and then we changed it to this week. So that's why I'm doing it tomorrow. That's it.
Just have one more question for Erica. I don't know if it's probably a stupid question, but is there any open houses that you ever do for condos, or do condos not allow
No,
open
condos
houses?
allow them. I mean, well, I don't want to say 100% of the time, but like 80, 90% of the time, condos will allow open houses. Those get tricky though, because you'll need to buzz people in. So it depends on how the condo is set up. Or Faye is like, you know, you pay a teenager some like $20 to sit there for like 2 hours and like buzz people up at the door downstairs. What I've done in the past when I was solo is I did an open house at a condo, and this is Sabrina, you know, the one on Wellington. You know how it works. So I did an open house there, and I had my open house signs in and around the building. And at the entrance, I had my sign there. I had my sleeve, and it said, you know, whatever Wellington Street unit, so 3 something, you know, in order to gain access, please text Erica at certain number with your name and information. And, you know, just text whatever saying, and, you know, when somebody came, I actually had 2 visitors at that open house, and it was a quiet time in like a, you know, not a super popular building at the time. And they texted me. It's like, hi, my name is so-and-so. I'm here for the open house. So then at that point, I will just head down, lock it up, and then I'll go greet her and bring her upstairs.
Okay.
Yeah. But open house at condos is not the easiest way to do it, and generally I don't like doing those very much. But nevertheless, it's an opportunity, and like, you know, if you're trying to pick up buyers for a certain building or sellers or whatever, it still can be a good idea.
Okay. I was just wondering if it was actually allowed or not allowed, but
it is.
I guess it is
for the most part. Yeah. I mean, granted, like I don't know of any buildings in the area that don't allow them.
You can do them.
You can. And actually, one thing that I did want to talk about before I leave you guys is that when a property is sold conditional, I still do open houses. So let's say like, you know, it's a Thursday and I get an offer on a property that's conditional until next week. I will still do open houses for that because, well, 1, it's just an opportunity to get leads, and 2, you can follow up with these people when the house does sell or the condo does sell the next week or whatever with the sell price. And at the open house, I'll just be like, hey, you know, so this property is sold conditional, but, you know, we do still do open houses in case, you know, the conditions fall through for any reason, you know, because we want to protect our sellers. But, you know, if you have your information here, I'd love to update you when the house does sell. And, you know, I'll let you know the selling price of that.
Yeah, and your sellers have to agree with that too. Your sellers have to agree with that. Because some sellers they want to stop showings. But you know, some sellers will say, sure, you know, keep the showings going.
Yeah, like I mean, every listing I've ever had, I've always done that, and I've never had any pushback from my clients about like continuing to do open houses because they get it. If it's a conditional offer, you really never know if it's gonna fall through. Yeah. So yeah.
If it's sold conditionally and then you get an offer while it's sold conditionally, are you allowed to take that offer?
No, it depends on what condition it is. If it's a conditional on the sale of a purchaser's property, it depends on how your wording is in the clause, but more often than not, you'll have an escape clause in there that says that, you know, the first offer has however many, like 24, 48, however much is in the offer, for them to either firm up or not, right? And if they don't firm up, then you can work with the next one. But if they do, then the first one is the done deal.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But normally, if it's sold condition, you're not allowed to take an offer.
No.
Okay.
Because technically it's sold as long as they fulfill the conditions. And
Yeah.
Technically you're not even able to take them if, let's say your conditions fall through, but you haven't signed your mutual release yet, you can't actually accept another one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just be careful about that, because I feel like it's not as widely known or understood, because they don't really cover it very well in the courses. But yeah.
But if the deal does fall through and you have a mutual release, you can absolutely call that other agent and say, this is what's happening, you know, bring your offer. If they're still interested, your buyers will look at your offer.
Mm-hmm.
So for sure.
And almost every time, if it was something that went into multiples or whatever, like, you know, a lot of the times they'll come back in.
Yeah.
Erica, I think Corey asked you a very good question. How you can make sure what information client given or customer given to you is correct?
It's not always going to be correct. And I generally don't triple check. If it's somebody who I had a conversation with that went well, I'll usually be like, oh, I have your email there. Like, why don't I just send you this via your email? And then if they know that they gave you the wrong information, they'll be like, oh yeah, let me give you another one if they're serious. Mm-hmm. But again, it's one of those things that, like, just don't dwell on that and don't really waste your time trying to find it, because, like, if they want to give you wrong information, then they're probably not interested in working with you.
I've had many wrong numbers
yeah.
on my sign-in sheets.
Yeah, and people will give you wrong numbers, but hey, I don't really take it offensively. I'm just be like, you know what? It's probably something that I've done once upon a time. So
a lot of people just come for the food or the water.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, actually, when you talk about food, I never put food.
Oh, really?
Not in open houses. Agent open houses, yes.
Agent open houses, yes, because those guys can be responsible for themselves.
They'll only come if there's food.
Yeah, but I am not signing myself up for that kind of liability. If someone's doing something that they shouldn't have, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
What kind of open houses did you say you put food in?
Agent open houses.
Depends on the area. Aurora, in normal markets, I'm saying, like in Aurora, they do it on Tuesdays where 11 to 1, they'll have open houses for other agents to take a look at. That you can go familiarize yourself with the neighborhood and the listings. Newmarket, it's Thursdays. Richmond Hill, it's Tuesdays. King is Tuesdays.
And
Georgina's Thursdays.
And that's
Georgina's not popular though. In Newmarket, it's not as popular, but Aurora, it's big.
Georgina does caravans.
Yeah. Agents tend to gravitate to the agent open houses that have food.
Exactly.
And if there's wine, you'll get lots of agents coming through your.
Freaking hammered, but no, I wouldn't serve anything like that or anything at all really at normal open houses.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't either.
Like, it's honestly an unnecessary expense. It's just totally unnecessary.
You can have water. You can have bottled water if it's a hot day.
That's the
and
most
you're having an open house. Yeah, get a bunch of water and put it out, and people.
I'll usually even put it in the fridge. I mean, if the sellers are okay and they're okay with, like, are here and they're okay with it, like, I'll just be like, hey, I have a couple of water bottles for any visitors that show up. You know, they're totally sealed. Is it okay if I leave them in the refrigerator and hand them out? 99% of the time, you're not going to have any pushback on that.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't serve food because there are way too many people with way too many silly allergies these days.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot be too careful. And definitely do not serve alcohol.
Yeah.
Just don't do it, and never ever do that, because there's just no good outcome from that.
Yeah.
So don't do it. But anyways, that's it. If you guys have any other questions about open houses or anything like that, you know, shoot me a message. And when this whole thing blows over, if it ever does, I will let some of you guys, I'll have some of you guys shadow with me again.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, guys, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Gals and dudes.
Sabrina,